I am excited about being here with you guys. Is that normal?
Yeah.
People were looking at me kind of strange when I said that. But it is a unique opportunity for me. I work with your students all the time, and so it's good to partner up with you and discuss some ideas that I think in the end are going to be beneficial to your students. So I'm excited. Dr. Barbara Mulch is the director for the Scholarship and Fellowship Programs Office. She's not going to be able to join me today. She had to leave to take care of some personal business, but I do have information for you on scholarships, and there are some for sophomores, so make sure that you get that information. I don't know much about it except her email address, which is really important to you, and take the handouts. Personal information up here. I recognize some of you. All right, basic information. So out of curiosity, I try to put this presentation together based on the idea that by now your student has come through our office, came through as a freshman. We work with him or her in developing a 4-year plan. They're halfway through the journey, right, as almost, or should be at the end of the semester. So my assumption is that they already have a 4-year plan and that they're in the 4th semester ready to declare the major. Is that correct? Do any of you have students who are undeclared, who still don't know quite where they're going? Some? Okay. I just want to ask the question because I want to make sure that you know that we do have resources for undeclared students, even though the focus may be a little bit different. So we're not forgetting about you. Okay.
Can I clarify one thing? Is the academic advisor they got as a freshman the same one through 4 years?
The academic advisor in the academic advising center, we're assigned for the 1st year generally, but students keep coming back to us until they graduate.
So beyond that, the 2nd year, 4th year, are they supposed to be academic advising?
We actually see them.
Mine doesn't.
We actually see them throughout the whole time, but when they become sophomores, the idea is that they're shifting more toward their faculty advisor. They're getting more involved in the major.
So they need to go to their like School of Business.
Correct.
And find out who is my faculty advisor, or
Yes.
how does that work? I'm trying to get mine to do this.
Some colleges do it a little bit different, and I'm not really sure that business actually has individual faculty advisors for the student. That's the one exception. So, but they're assigned to us until they graduate in the advising center. Yeah, it's up to them, you know, how frequently they come, but we're their advisors, and we are assigned to them based on their major, based on the college that they're in. So hopefully that answers your question.
Well,
Kind of, but not really, because they don't really have faculty advisors in that college, unlike others.
okay.
Do we fill out a FERPA if we want to find out more about what they're doing?
That is
Do we
correct.
need those separately?
That is correct.
When we first sent one in, it said we get to know about their grades and things like that. Are we good?
That FERPA agreement allows you, gives us permission to speak with you regarding your student. That gives you permission to email or call, and then we can discuss. I like to be a part of that, but as much as possible, I like to deal directly with the student. It is, I think, in the best interest of everyone to do that, but we're definitely open to working with the parents. If you don't have a FERPA, those are the federal privacy laws that prohibit us from talking to you about your son's information. So that has to be signed by the student on file in order for us to have a discussion with you about the specifics of his or her case.
So just to kind of recap, the students at Chapman, they're not assigned a particular counselor, so to speak. They go to the advising center and they're going to talk to whoever is available there, or do they see the same person? So in other words, do you have a caseload of students?
We have specialty advisors for each college. So I do
Okay,
the
so
students
based on their major, whatever it is.
based on the majors. So all the students in the sciences are assigned to me. And so in her case, her son is assigned, or daughter is assigned, is assigned to the business advisor, which is Gabby Garcia. So they're specialty advisors by college.
If the specialty advisor is not given the information that they needed, then where do they go?
Remember, they have 2 advisors. There's the faculty, and then there's the advisor in our office. So
Go to the faculty.
yeah, I try to connect them. The idea is that we transition them later on and the end of the sophomore year, I would like the students to begin building relationship with the faculty from day one. And I encourage that when they come in summer for the advising workshops. It's never too late. So get to know the faculty.
When you mentioned summer, that made me think, is that a better time for a student to make their appointment to come in just to see if, because my son's been following the track real well as far as all the classes for his major. He came in with, a lot of AP classes, so, enough units to make up the 124 and what ones he should be taking, beyond like the major classes. Is the summer probably the best time to come in to have that discussion, or?
Actually, anytime throughout the year, except during registration.
Well, because he tried to make an appointment right at the time the semester started, and
Yeah.
there were too
2
many
weeks
seniors.
before, 2 weeks
Okay.
before registration, 2 weeks after, I would not. If I was a student, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near our office. Registration, the beginning of the semester is like tax day. Everybody waits to the last minute, and it's not possible to meet people's needs. So I always joke with students, if I were you, I wouldn't be here except during the downtimes. So
But are they available all summer long then? So
we're here all the time. We're here all the time. And summer is actually one of the busiest times of the year because we have the new incoming freshmen. And so it's a little bit, we have incoming freshmen and transfers. So we have workshops pretty much from June until the end of July. And then we shift a little bit and get into the beginning of the semester. So we're busy until September. September. All right. Love the questions. What are we talking about today? Actually, this is the best format. I was trying to put this together, but it is a challenge to estimate what your needs are going to be. So interaction for me is the best way to give you what you need. So we're going to talk about sophomore academic planning, declaring majors and minors, give you a quick overview of general education. We're going to talk about the most important planning tool of all, which is program evaluation. Program evaluation. My expectation is that your son and daughter is going to be an expert at that, because in doing so, they're going to ensure that they are going to graduate on time and that they're going to do it in a fun and efficient way. All right, let's move on. We'll talk about some support resources that you're probably already familiar with and scholarships at the end. We'll definitely leave some time at the end for questions. All right, so sophomore year and beyond. So I'm just going to go over some of the things I think are important for your student to be working on from this point forward. Like I said, by now, the hope is that they're ready to declare the major. Because if they're not, or at least by the end of this semester, if not, they may be a little behind in terms of graduation. So that'll be the goal. By the way, to graduate in 4 years is 31 credits per year. It's a simple formula, and you can sort of break it up. If they're doing 12, and 12, that's only 24. They need 7 between summer and interterm. If they're doing 15 in the fall, 15 in the spring, that's 30. They need 1 more course. So 31 credits per year to graduate in 4 years. That's just looking at the numerical aspect of it. There's a lot of other variables. Now, we were talking about this. Really important that the student begins to build that relationship with the faculty. As I said earlier, I want them to start that. They should have already done it, but this is a perfect time to do it. The faculty is the expert when it comes to the major, okay? They are going to be hopefully a mentor for the student. It's a great opportunity to become mentored by a faculty who loves what he or she does, okay? So it's a really beneficial experience for the student to do that. Faculty are very well connected. They love students, that's why they're here. And so if a student develops a relationship with the faculty, a lot of positive things will come out of it. Letters of recommendation, internship opportunities. Sometimes they even become friends. They advise them on what career choices, what graduate programs to go into. So it's a really, really important opportunity for the student. They should also be looking at volunteer opportunities in their potential career or major. Get involved. A lot of students, I call it the sampling taste. Sometimes you see a dish that looks delicious and then you bite into it and you want to throw up, right? So the same thing with future careers and jobs. Get a taste for it, know what it's all about, and start that process early. Attend campus career fairs to learn about jobs in your field of interest. Again, the whole idea of becoming involved in the process to make sure that you know what it's really about. Professional organizations, to be involved in that right away. They're very good at becoming involved in the student organizations, and that's great. It's a step in that direction, but learn about them and become involved as much as possible. And we definitely promote the idea of going to study abroad for a whole semester. I know that makes some parents a little nervous. I don't know what that's like because I've always been a free spirit, but we promote that. Students have to apply a year in advance. So if they want to go in their junior year, they really have to start that process, okay? And they're trying to figure out the major, and some of them are going to also need to figure out a minor, depending on how many credits the major includes. So it's a good time to look for a minor, and hopefully one that complements their major, okay? Now, in terms of the major, the requirements vary from major to major in terms of total credits. It's a significant difference. If you have a communications major, it's about 40, 42, 44 credits. You know, health science is going to be 70-some credits. So they vary from major to major. Minimum required credits for graduation, as you probably already know, is 124 credits. Okay? And I mentioned the 31 credits per year required to graduate. Between the major and GE, a student can share 9 credits. Okay? And that's a benefit to the student, of course. As I said, some majors can be completed in 5 semesters pretty quickly, low unit major. Others are going to be the full 4 years. And so we have 4-year plans for a lot of those majors. Do you have a sense as to whether or not your student has a 4-year plan that they're working with? Okay. Because by now, that should be the case. Now, in some majors, if you're an English major, there really isn't a 4-year plan because you have total flexibility. If you're a biology major, that 4-year plan is pretty much laid out for you. But nonetheless, I encourage you to work with them on being engaged in that planning process. Every student that I meet with, they walk with an assignment. They walk out of my office with an assignment. They know what the requirements are. The task is for them to go and plug them on a semester-by-semester basis for the rest of the time that they're going to be at Chapman. I don't expect them to do it perfectly, but the process of doing that is extremely important. They become engaged, gives them ownership of the process, it makes them responsible. When they come back and we check on that, then I prepare them to go meet with the faculty advisor. They begin to build that relationship. So I would encourage you to, if you have doubts about it, to maybe discuss that if they have a 4-year plan. Okay, this will be a good time to, if they're not really sure about it, to come see us or go see their faculty advisor to keep working on that plan. And again, seeing the advisor as early as possible is always helpful. So all of you know where the requirements are listed? Have you guys taken a look at the online catalog? Okay. Now, it is possible to have a double major, meaning 2 majors with the same degree, a BA, BA, BS, BS. Students can do that and be held to 124 credits. It is also possible to have a dual degree, a BA, BS combination. However, you see that the numbers change. It goes to 156 credits, a difference of 32 credits. It is, students will ask me, is that possible? And I said, of course, it is possible. But how long do you want to be at Chapman? How long are your parents willing to pay? It is possible. So it's really important that they understand how long it's going to take and to be realistic about it. Now, students can declare the major. A form is available online. Any form that the student needs is going to be available through the registrar's office website. Okay? So you can look at that information as well. One key change in this policy, and that is that students can no longer change majors during registration. Okay? So they can do it a week or so prior to the beginning of the registration period, but not during that time. Okay. Any questions? Again, this is a lot of basic information. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
The whole BA, BS thing, if your kid is getting a BFA, how does that correlate to what you can do as a minor or maybe a major in the BA area?
I mean, it depends on the student's goal or the reason. Why do they want multiple degrees? Can they afford? Do they have the time? What kind of workload are they going to be able to handle? What kind of GPA do they have right now? So it's always an individual decision, and it's a matter of finding out where the student is at and what they want to do with it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Is it less restrictive when it's a minor as opposed to obviously?
Less restrictive in terms of
the amount of credits and time involved in everything.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely some minors. We'll go into that. Minors are not required, but a lot of students choose to take them. There's a lot of benefits to that. All right, so some things to consider in planning. So let's say we have a student who was undeclared and now for sure wants to go into business, okay, but didn't know that they actually have to be admitted into the program. You can't just go and declare it, okay? So there is a GPA requirement of 3.25. And if you do not achieve that, you're not going to be admitted. And so we'll have students who are trying to get into the program and they're not being successful. Well, you got to have a backup plan because time is passing. So really important they know what it's going to take to get into the major. Okay, and if a student wants to go into business, they first become pre-business until they meet the admission criteria for the program. So important to know. Some students don't give up on that. They just keep going and going, but it's okay when you're a freshman. What happens when you finish your GEs and you don't have a major? A backup plan is really important. So in this case, if a student does not achieve the required GPA, they can retake courses to try to reach that GPA. But again, how long do you want to do that for? And it's really important to have discussion with the student about the reality of their achieving the 3.25 GPA and how long that's going to take and what that means to you. Again, students are definitely should meet with their advisor early on. And in the case of not being able to make it into business, let's discuss other options because there are. It's just sometimes they're not willing to listen to them, but there are other options. So a couple examples, if they still want to be in business, they can switch to econ. It doesn't have a GPA requirement. If they want to continue with business, they can do a business cluster for their general ed requirements. So there are options available for them. Okay, what about if you want to go into Dodge? Same story. Actually, much more competitive to get into that. So film production is one of the most competitive programs, and then followed by public PR and advertising. So have the conversation with your student about the reality of those choices and have a plan B in place. It's not to discourage the student. It's just about having a real discussion about what's going on. Okay? And sometimes students are under the impression that it's easier for you to be admitted into those programs if you're a current student. That's not the case. That is not the case. And again, going back to discussing different alternatives, different options. All right, so how do you pick a minor? First of all, they're not required, they're optional. And starting in 2011, the minimum number of credits is 21. The largest minor would be business, which is 30 credits. And even for that minor, you have to have the GPA to be admitted into that. So it's not automatic, okay? Now, minors provide an opportunity to explore a different field to students. Pursue a personal interest. I have all my science students, some of them want to go into a dance minor, which I think it's an interesting combination, but they've been dancing forever and it keeps them balanced, which I think is very healthy. So it does give them the opportunity to do that. It sounds simple, but I think it's really important for them to be able to do that. And in many cases, a minor can complement the major, depending on what the career goal is. Example, one psych major that I had, psychology major, minor in art. She wants to be an art therapist. Perfect combination. So there are ways that you can make that minor really work. based on your goals. And it also helps students develop, further develop the major area of study. I don't like that word, but a minor can also help a student develop an area that they may not be so strong in. So if a student is not a good writer, then English minor could be a good way to build those skills. Okay? Again, students have the opportunity to select the minor, select the courses in a way that's meaningful to them. And given that you're paying a lot of money for coming here, I think that's really important that they get the most out of that experience. Now, in some cases, like the sciences, it could be others, the student begins in a particular major, they decide, you know what, this is not really where my passion is. I'm going to change, but I like the courses. So if I have a biology major who decides to change the major, perhaps he or she can do a biology minor and still be involved in those courses, but at a different level. So it's a good option for them. Again, same process for declaring a minor. The forms are available online, and they cannot be submitted during registration. I have a question. What has been your process in working with your student? Are they all pretty firm? Do they all know what they want to do in terms of a major in here? Wow, that feels good.
My son is an economics major with plans to go to graduate school for an MBA. He's playing around with options for a minor. Do you think under those set of circumstances, a business minor would be more helpful, or would something else be more applicable to a long-term program?
You know, as you asked the question, there are some minors that are allowed and some that are not, and I don't have that list in front of me. I'm not sure how much those overlap. The minor, if it's 21 credits, you can share 6 credits with GE. You can share some of the credits with the other major, but out of the 21, 12 cannot be shared. So I would have to look at the requirements for those particular, for the major and the minor, being that it's not one that I'm normally used to working. But if it's allowed, yeah, it's perfect. Again, it goes back to the student. Why does that student want to do it? What's going to be the benefit? All minors in Dodge College require an application, so I think all of you know that by now. And I talked about sharing credits between the major, minor and GE. And you should have a handout that has how to pick a minor, and on the back of it, it has the list of possible minors. Okay, so it's a good reference to have. Sure.
On the minimum credits, 21, so that's new, 2011 on. On the website, on some of them, they still say 18.
18.
19, so
That's a recent change.
so those aren't updated.
Well, for the previous year, there were 18. From this point forward, there'll be at least 21.
If your student has already declared a minor, will that change?
No, they can, unlike the major where you would have to move to a different catalog year, the minors are okay.
Let's say you need a summer class to get back on 61 units. How would a student figure out what class to take that's available in the summer that's transferable? Or, let's say a GE class, not as major.
I love that question. Let me see where that's going to come up. I'm not going to answer it, but I'm going to hold on to the question. Oh, we're going into GE. Perfect timing. Our GE program is very flexible. That was one of the most amazing things about coming to Chapman when I saw it. It just, my mind was, I couldn't understand how fascinating it was. 45 to 46 credits, but students actually have the opportunity to personalize it. And it is not something that has to be completed in the first years, as it is normally the case at most institutions. They can spread it over a 4-year period. Okay? That is a pretty amazing option to have. And we do have a lot of courses for them at the upper division during the junior and senior years. Okay? Now, how familiar are you with GE so far? I don't want to put you to sleep. Fairly familiar?
Yeah.
We'll just do a quick, I'll focus on the areas that I know that are critical. So those 2 areas you're familiar with. Okay. Global Citizen Cluster. It consists of global studies, 6 credits, citizenship, community service, 3 credits. That is not community service, by the way. Citizenship, community service. Sometimes people think it's community service. Very different. 3 credits for that, and then the language study, 3 credits. Global study can be satisfied by going abroad for a whole semester. We also have travel courses. Those are short-term, take place in the summer or in winter. Each course will be 3 credits. If they wanted to satisfy the requirement with travel courses, they would have to do 2 of them. Or they can simply take 2 courses, 6 credits from the global study area, and they have lots of courses to choose from. So important to know there are different ways of going about it. The language study, they need to complete a course at the intermediate level, which means 3 semesters of a language. Okay, that's really important that they start working on that early on, especially if they have to start at the beginning and they need 3 courses. This is one of the areas that can be a problem for students when they become seniors. Okay? The intermultidisciplinary cluster is another part of GE, and you have a handout that talks about the cluster. These 2 handouts that I have, transfer information and the cluster, this is information that's available on the registrar's office website. We just put it together for you. It has all the information in one place. It's not beautiful. It's just a quick one place where you can find all the information. So kind of keep that in mind. The cluster is an area that students sometimes have trouble with because they don't understand the criteria and therefore end up taking the wrong course, which could, in many cases, mean an extra semester. And I tell the students that every time I meet with them so to make sure that they understand the importance of knowing how that works. The intermultidisciplinary cluster is 12 credits, which is basically 4 courses. Out of those 4 courses, 6 credits must be upper division, meaning 300 level or above. Those courses must be outside of the student's major discipline and cannot be shared with any other course that's part of GE. Very specific criteria. That information is listed on the program evaluation. It explains it very well. But for some reason, people don't understand it. Now, this area, if they are doing a minor, will take care of the intermultidisciplinary cluster automatically. If they're doing a minor or a second major, or if they're in the honors program, they don't have to worry about that. It's automatically waived. I think one of the problems with the cluster is that students will begin taking courses for it, but they don't declare it. And that's a problem because if they take the wrong course, they don't know that they've taken the wrong course. When they declare the cluster, that cluster is added to their program evaluation and they can see the specific courses that must be taken to satisfy that requirement. So when the student enrolls, they can see where that course is going. So they don't declare it, and many times they don't do it until they're junior or senior, and then they find out they took the wrong classes. So really important, a really important area. So I mentioned this, that sometimes the students wait until their senior year to take their language, and if they have to do 3 courses, it's not going to happen. That could delay them a whole semester. And I talked about the requirement. Last summer, I had one young lady who went through commencement, had everything except the language. She was planning to do it in summer. I don't know what happened, but she was not able to do it here. She went all over California trying to get it done at the community college. That's not going to happen. I try to find places online. I spent like hours and hours with her trying to find a course online, and I could not find it. She never came back after that, so I don't know what happened. Now I do have a resource for that. There is a college online that provides language courses, which is fascinating. But I felt so bad for her, but she left it for the very end. So this is a good discussion to have with your students now rather than later. And I talked about the other potential problem with the IM cluster. Now you know what it is. Make sure they understand it. When they come to see me, they leave that office understanding that policy. They can never come back and tell me that I didn't explain it. No student can tell me that. No, none of them can say that. They understand. I take the time. It's that critical, that important to me.
I don't understand their electives. because, and that's okay, but what I'm getting is the big picture of some of the electives my son as a sophomore and as a freshman is taking are a part of this GE, these 4 different clusters. Is that correct?
Electives are different from that. Electives, let's say you need 124 credits.
Yes.
You finish your major, you finish GE, and everything else is done, but you don't have 124 credits. You have 120. The remaining 4 are electives because you need them to complete the 124.
Okay, so he's taking GE, the classes that I'm not understanding why or what he's doing are these GE requirements.
Perhaps. Perhaps. Perhaps.
I'm so old school, I don't understand. Why don't you have that freshman English and sociology and intro to psychology? It just seems just so different.
That's the beautiful thing about being at Chapman, that they have total flexibility in that. So you do have the inner multidisciplinary handout. Any question that you have about that, I think the answer is in here. All right, here we go. This is actually related to your question. The program evaluation. I didn't do it in here. The program evaluation, in my opinion, is the most important planning tool for your student. And like I said before, they have to become experts at it. How many of you have already gone online and played with it? Are somewhat familiar? Okay. If they'll let you, I would encourage you to do it. Take a look at it. It tells you exactly what needs to be done. It's available through WebAdvisor. I can show you a sample afterwards, but it will list all graduation requirements. Okay, has it been completed? In green, very clearly stated. Is there has a requirement been waived because of AP credit? It'll say it. Any work in progress? Okay, it will be listed. And most importantly, it tells you if something hasn't been started. Guess what? Those are the areas that you have to work on. So this is a tool that they have from day one. And in my opinion, they have to become proficient at using that. My goal would be to require them to come into my office with it. I'm not quite there yet, but my students actually bring it because they know the importance of it. But
would that fit into my question in a summer class? The ideal thing is to pick that not started or something like that, or?
As a sophomore, well, it depends on where it fits in the 4-year plan. What are they supposed to be doing in summer? Do you see what I mean? Summer interterms should all be planned out. Maybe not the specific course, but at least the title. So it really comes down to what is the plan.
My son is a science student, just to make it easy for you. So a lot of those classes are only available in the
Yeah. So there are no science courses available here in summer. Right.
So I was thinking you have to take a GE in the summer to get back on track.
Yeah, that would be a fun way to do it. Go and take a GE course.
But then does he have to come and see you? You happen to be his counselor.
Right. All the science students are mine.
Approved by you.
No, the transfer information brochure walks you through the process, and basically, on WebAdvisor, there's a database that contains courses that have been evaluated and transferred from all kinds of institutions throughout the country, even internationally. So the student goes there, they can look for the course based on the name of the course at Chapman or the institution where they wish to take the course.
So they can look at the local community college.
Right. And it'll tell them what's equivalent. Now they need to learn to read that correctly because courses will transfer, but not only do you want it to transfer, you want it to transfer and be equivalent to the course at Chapman. So that information is available there for them. Now, that database does not contain every possible course that you can think of. So in the case that the desired transfer course is not in there, the student can email the registrar's office for pre-approval prior to enrolling in the course.
Oh, so if it's not there, go to register.
That's right. Email them, and they will approve it beforehand. And that's really important because we do have students who go and take classes without ever checking, which to me that's kind of interesting. And they expect to transfer them back to graduate, and they don't transfer back. Or they also go and take courses and don't report them to us. So when you look at your program evaluation, that the information, the numbers are incorrect. So if they take courses at the community college, make sure that they submit the final transcript.
My son mentioned not being able to do one original program that he was thinking of doing because he was going to have too many credits. So if you hit the amount of credits that's supposed to be covered by Chapman in the year, I mean by your 4th year, sometime in your 4th year, you not take extra credits without paying more money?
Once you go above 18, there's a charge for it, 18 credits per semester.
I mean, the overall, say you're a senior and and you have your 124 credits already, but you still need 2 classes.
Oh, there's no limit to that. You got students that have 150 credits.
Oh, I wonder why he said that.
Yeah, there's no
I think
limit
he's
to that.
confused. Okay, we'll figure that out.
I wonder if there are limits to the transfer credits that student can bring in. I'm not sure if that's what you're...
What would that be?
Let's see if I... Oh, I do have the transfer policy next. Okay, we'll go into that in just a minute. So the program eval, most important tool, it tells them exactly what they need, the specific courses, and they can use that to plan for the rest of the time here at Chapman. Please, please encourage them to become experts. My philosophy is when I interact with students, I like to teach them to be independent. I like for them to be prepared when they go see their faculty advisor. I want them to stand out because, as I said before, faculty notice students that have it together. And so I would encourage you to do the same with them. I know that you already do, but in terms of the program evaluation, I would like them to come to the office with that already highlighted with very specific questions. Now, program evaluation, you want to make sure that they're using the current one, not the one that they got in summer of 2 years ago, because they do that. I'm glad that they carry them, but always use the most current. Otherwise, they're planning based on incorrect information. So once the student goes through the program evaluation, they identify what they need. The next step is then to make an appointment with the faculty advisor to talk about the major, and then make an appointment with the advisor in our office to talk about everything else. Okay? And there is a student responsibility statement at the end of the program evaluation, which basically says that it's the student responsible for understanding the program evaluation. All right, back to your transfer question. There is a transfer policy. This is for students with a catalog year of 09 or later. Once they matriculate at Chapman, they have a limit of 18 credits that they can transfer back. Okay? 18 credits for the whole time. So let's say that your student came into Chapman last year and time has passed, and that student is now a senior, meaning that he has earned 90 credits. At that point, out of the 18 credits that were allowed, he only has 9 left. So use it or lose it. If you used them before, fine, but at senior, at 90 credits earned, only 9 of those credits are available. And that's really important if someone is going to be short on credits and they need to take classes somewhere else.
Many of our students came in as freshmen, but before they were freshmen, they took a couple courses at the community college. They occurred before they began here. Do those count against the 12? So.
This applies after they were matriculated at Chapman.
Okay, but of course they wouldn't have transferred them over until later, but they completed them earlier because they got accepted, and then they asked the community college to send it. You see what I mean? Does that make sense?
They completed them before they started here.
Yeah, they completed. My son did one between sophomore and junior year, and one in the summer before he became a freshman at Chapman, for example.
So I would say those are completed prior to matriculation. They're not going to be included.
After he became a freshman, he went over to the schools and said, send them over here.
Right. So those would not be included in there. We talked about the transfer database. Here's the email. If the student wants to get pre-approval prior to taking the course, they send an email to articulation@chapman.edu. It's a good idea to send a course description along with the email. That'll make it a lot easier for the registrar's office to evaluate that. So, and again, you have a handout on the transfer information that you can refer to. A couple of potential obstacles that students can encounter in the future to keep in mind. Sometimes it does become a little bit of an issue when trying to get into courses. But if students understand the program evaluation and they've been planning, they're able to come up with a backup plan pretty efficiently. And that's one of the reasons why I like for them to be as independent and know what they're doing, because when they're out there trying to register, none of us are going to be there, at least no one from our office is going to be there to help them. So it's really important for them to know what's really needed as opposed to what they really want when it comes to making those decisions. Because, you know, for sophomores at times it does get a little bit difficult. So make sure that they know that. If they have a class that they really want, it's important to meet with us to figure out an alternative to make sure that they get what they need. Okay? So really encourage them to do that. And if there's a course that they need because they're in the sciences and it's going to set them back a year, if they're not able to get into that course, then I would recommend that they speak with the department chair, the dean, and the associate or assistant dean of the college. Every college is committed to helping their students. And I've seen that. I've been here for about 1.5 years, and I've seen that. They've always told me that, you know, we will take care of our majors. So if your student's in that situation, refer them to the department chair or the associate dean. And in that case, you know, those are the individuals that can make decisions, right? They can add another course, they can add seats to a particular course. They will do things to help their student. And again, I think we talked about this before, that please encourage your students to come see us before registration. If they come during registration, they're not going to get the best quality service because there are too many people and we take students on a walk-in basis. If you have a really urgent matter, you don't want to take 10 minutes to handle that. You want them to have an appointment and have at least a half hour. All right, what time are we ending about now?
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, you already know these services, so. Registration for fall coming right out. We're going to start seeing students right around the corner, probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. Registration will take place in the 3rd week in April. I think it's the 22nd, I believe. So have them come in now. We're already actually getting booked.
Do you prioritize different years, get different priority for their classes? It seemed like freshmen, they had an okay time. Sophomore, it was very difficult for their classes. Does it get easier for junior and senior?
Right. The freshmen were given priority. They have their best pick they're ever going to have until they become seniors. Now they go back to the end of the line, and that's where they become sophomores.
Are sophomores at the bottom?
Yeah.
And that's why knowing the requirements and planning is critical, because you're in a bit of a challenging situation as a sophomore. They had it great last time, but now they go to the end. All right, thank you very much.